Today we'll look at three of the best examples of Roman architecture, but first a little background information. For the Romans, architecture was a way to express their power. The government commissioned many civil buildings that were built by the army. The Romans had a monopoly on materials, and also became known for building long, well-constructed straight roads. While the arch was invented by the Etruscans, its use in architecture was popularized by the Romans. It was a stable construction element and was able to span large distances. In the first image, you can see where the keystone is located. It is the last piece placed and usually has a date engraved on it. If you were to string a series of arches together, the result would be an arcade. Finally, the Romans invented concrete and used it liberally in their construction. The next image shows a Roman triumphal arch called the Arch of Constantine from the year 313. It is 70 feet high and 85 feet wide. This arch commemorated Constantine's assumption as sole emperor of Rome. He is best known for legalizing Christianity, also in 313. Note the three arches, each with a decorative keystone, the reused medallions, and the dedication in uppercase text that was the source of our own Roman font commonly used today. This arch sits between the Roman Forum and the Colosseum and is still an impressive display of leadership and power. Our next image is the Colosseum in Rome, Italy. The Colosseum dates from 70 ACE and took 8 years to construct. It has 80 entrances and exits and could completely fill up with people or empty in a matter of minutes. It seats 45,000 spectators and even had a tarp-like roof that could be stretched across the top. The Colosseum was used for a variety of events, from gladiator fights to naval battle reenactments. Our next image shows the side of the Colosseum. The 4-storied building has simple Doric column capitals on the first level, circular Ionic capitals on the second level, and elaborate Corinthian capitals on the third level. The most popular event inside the Colosseum were the gladiator fights. The fights took place in the afternoons and were originally held to honor the dead. The gladiators were mostly slaves that fought other men or animals. The floor of the Colosseum was sand in order to soak up the blood. This image shows the ground floor cleared away to reveal the underground tunnels and rooms where the gladiators and animals were kept. You can also see the seating. People were seated by social rank in the Colosseum. The emperor had a special box, knights and senators had reserved seats, soldiers were separated from civilians, and married men were separated from bachelors. The top section seated poor people and slaves who wore a drab gray. There weren't any seats, so they actually had to stand. Women were required to sit at the top. The bottom two tiers required formal dress, which consisted of a heavy white woolen toga with purple trim and sandals. The senators and the wealthy wore these, as Roman men believed wearing pants was unmanly. Ordinary citizens wore white without the purple trim. Our next image is a Pantheon, which dates from 126 ACE. It is dedicated to all of the gods and was built by Hadrian. The diameter of the building is the same as its height. Volcanic rubble was added to the mortar to reduce the weight of the dome. Frankly, it's amazing that it doesn't collapse. This image shows the front of the Pantheon. The Romans admired the Greeks greatly, and so you'll see many Greek elements: the triangular pediment, the columns, and the portico entrance. Our next image shows the rough exterior of the Pantheon in close-up. The Pantheon was conceived from inward out and designed around the interior space. The exterior leaves a lot to be desired. One can see the somewhat awkward joining of the square portico and the circular dome portion. Our last image is a photograph of the interior of the Pantheon. The interior of the Pantheon has 8 niches. One is an entrance, and the others contain 7 statues of gods. The famous Renaissance painter Raphael is buried here at his own request. The oculus provides light, but also allows in rain, so there is a drain located on the floor. The ceiling is coffered, referring to the small recessed squares on the dome. They were originally painted in gold and helped illuminate the space by reflecting the sunlight from the oculus. Well, we've seen 3 great examples of Roman architecture. Thanks for joining me as we looked at just a small piece of Roman architectural history.